Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are here this week with Kevin, Julia,
Hello.
and we have Christina.
Hello.
So, first and foremost, I would like Julia and Christina just to introduce themselves, their buildings and positions, and all that fun stuff.
I'm Christina Ladick, and I'm the Library Media Specialist at Sycamore.
I'm Julia DeMaio, and I'm the Library Media Specialist at Idlehour Elementary and Duffield Elementary.
And Kevin, this guy just edits the podcast and brings the cool stuff.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
So, we are currently in the Sycamore Library, and this is actually one of the places where I do a lot of push-ins and PDs and faculty goose chases, and so it's very cool that we have a lot of fun in this library, so I'm really excited to be in this space. You'll notice that over here, now that we have video for this week, right, I can point, we have in center the 3D printer. I will tell you that it's always located here, and it's just the perfect place to record this podcast. So this episode is going to be primarily focused around 3D printing for the elementary buildings. We are going to really give you a kind of like a historical timeline of how we got the 3D printers, the why, and what we're really doing with them. I think that 3D printing we've always heard of, many years ago, and it's different hearing the term, but then seeing it come to life. So I think that that's going to be the primary focus of our conversation today. So I'm going to start off by saying that the only exposure I had to 3D printing pre-Connect-Quad was knowing that the high school that I went to, which was St. John's in West Islip, once I left there, a couple of years later, they got a 3D printer, and I saw like a video on it, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, but I didn't know like the application of it. I was just like, oh, they get to like print dinosaurs and buildings, and I saw like all these prints that it was making, but I never actually had the proper exposure to what the actual functionality and objective was behind it. Furthermore, when I worked for Model Schools in BOCES, we have one of my colleagues from there, which you guys did some training with, Carrie. She was big into 3D printing, and she always had like keychains, and she always had all these things that she was making. I'm like, how do you do this? And she kept saying 3D printer, 3D printer. I never actually got to hone in during my time there. I never got to hone in on that skill set. Like, I never had that as my primary focus, but I was around people who did. Once coming here, we then had 3D printers, and right before here we were talking a little bit about the timeline. If you guys can talk about when they came and what that process looked like a little bit.
So it was November of last year that we all received the 3D printers in the libraries, and I had no experience. I mean, I knew the existence of 3D printers, but I never used them. It was all brand new to me, so going through the different trainings was definitely helpful. TJ within the district has taught us so much, and just the process of, you're designing on one software, which is Tinkercad, and that's, I don't know if you can see in the background, but like just different simple steps of like how you're moving a shape, making it larger, manipulating that process, and then you have to download it into the different software, Prusa, which is the type of 3D printer we have, so that it slices it so that the 3D printer can actually read it. So it's like multiple steps to get to the finished product. I don't know if you want to piggyback on any of that.
I had minimal experience with it. I also work at the Connect-Quad Public Library, and we have the Prusa Mini there in the children's department. So I am it's myself and another librarian who are in charge of the 3D printing. So I had a little bit of background, but not the designing aspect of it. It was more just pulling files off of like Thingiverse and like all of the different types of software that's out there, and then plugging it in to Prusa and printing it that way. So TJ really did a great job helping us learn how to design and what to look for to make sure that our prints don't fail. And so this way we can, show our students, okay, this is what you have to look for to make sure that the prints don't fail, even though they love when the prints fail because it looks like spaghetti and they want to keep it. But, he really did a great job training us and showing us what to look for and making sure that our prints are successful.
Yes.
So let's rewind just a little bit back. So we got the printers.
Mm-hmm.
What do we see? What was the vision, I would say? What were the vision of, like, okay, we have these printers in the library. What are we using them for? Like, off the top of your head. Like, what was the first thing that came to your mind? Like, oh, I can use this 3D printer to...
Well, obviously collaborate with the classroom teachers and have it support their curriculum. So one thing that I do with the art teacher over in Idle Hour is she has the 4th grade students create and design their own Funko Pops. So I print
A what?
a Funko Pop.
Say it again?
Funko Pop.
Okay, define it for us who don't know what that is.
So it kind of looks like, everyone has seen a Funko Pop, whether you think you've seen it or not. They look like little characters, whether it's like Ted Lasso characters, Marvel characters, Star Wars characters, Harry Potter characters.
Oh, are
They've
those
got-
the things that... No, that's not the
Yeah.
thing.
They have, like,
That
the big-
Nick
Nick
brings?
Monty has, and like
Okay.
Yes,
that
yes.
everybody has
I don't
within
think-
the IT
Right.
department has like
I'm
a
thinking
little
Victor
character.
Monty.
Yeah, him
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
no,
Nick-
Vic,
Nick-
too.
no, Nick Monty. He kind of so Nick Monty. He works at central office. He does a lot of our e-school work, but he's big into Funko Pops, and he always finds a Funko Pop that like resonates
never
with
knew
somebody's personality or something that they like, and he always brings one to everybody.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
all of us within the department have a bunch at our desk.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of funny, but now Victor Montez has come on board, and he's a huge Captain
Yes,
America.
huge Captain America.
Yeah, and he has like a wall of them at his desk, so it's pretty funny. But
I
yes.
didn't know the name, and then I was like, wait a second, this must be it.
Yes.
This must be
Yeah,
it.
so
Okay.
it's got like a big head and small little body.
Yeah.
So I print out plain white ones, and then she has the students paint them and use modeling clay for accessories and hair and things like that.
Oh.
So I know last year they were on display at the Kennesaw Public Library. So it's a really great, 3D printer is really great for being able to collaborate with the classroom teachers. I know Christina and I have both done the same lesson in October. We would read
the carrots.
Creepy Carrots and then 3D print carrots and have our students build the wall around the carrots using like popsicle sticks and I don't know what you use.
Clothespins.
Clothes-
So like,
okay, I use popsicle sticks.
the basis of the story is this rabbit likes to eat carrots, and the carrots are now trying to get back at him, and eventually he builds a fence around the carrots, and now they're happy because he won't eat them anymore. So we 3D print the carrots. The students work collaboratively and build a fence around it, and then they get to take the carrot home. But instead of just having, like a 2D flat surface picture of a carrot, they actually get to hold something substantial, and it just seems like a little more real. So it's exciting for them. We learned this year too from Karen Diener, one of the library media specialists at Cherokee, having the students design a snowflake through Tinkercad. And I think what's really cool about the 3D printer is that the students are excited about it, but in building it, we're talking about a lot of math terms. And I think it's like fun way to apply math terms that they're learning, whether it's, reflection or talking about angles and turning an object 180 or 90 degrees. And it's like, wow, like we're learning this in math, but you need to learn these skills in real life or in just doing something fun that they like to do and the importance of math. And so I try to stress that in when we were like designing the snowflakes. So I think that's important.
Also, too, I think my favorite saying is failing forward. So I run the Makerspace Club over at Idle Hour, and my students, I had them design their own 3D prints, and we printed them. I showed them what to look for, but obviously, the first time they're going to print something, it's not going to be perfect. So a lot of their prints failed at first, and they were, really upset. And I'm like, it's fine, we're failing forward. What do you think you could have done differently? How can we change it? So it's, teaching them that sometimes the first try, you're not going to be successful in anything in life. So it's a good life skill also. Okay, I didn't do this right. How can I, go at it from a different angle to try to fix it? So I think that's a great life lesson also.
Absolutely, and you know, like we make mistakes and we persevere and we keep trying. And also, what I like, you know, I mean, here at Sycamore, we have a various population, and it's nice to see some of like which students excel at it, and then even help me. I'm like, you know, I'm learning with you, and I tell the students that you know, this was given to the libraries, and we're learning. Didn't have experience, but I'm trying and learning with you. So let's make mistakes together. And you know, some of the students are like, oh no, it's this way, and I'm like, thank you. Look, we just learned from, you know, so and so, and I get to highlight different students' abilities and what they've even learned from home or what they just know. And I think that's just really nice. It gives sometimes students that maybe don't shine an opportunity to shine.
I think all the things that you're talking about, it's all about the process. Like, of course they want that carrot. And that's actually funny that it's like the carrot. We always say the carrot thing. Like, but it's all about the process. And I think years ago, even when I was in school, it was always like, okay, what was the answer? Like, I remember going into a classroom setting, and it was always, what did you get for an answer? Okay, now we're moving on. What did you get for an answer? And everyone's just talking about the answer. And now I think we're shifting our gears a little bit about the process and, like, how we get to the answer. And I do think it's exciting when I do see the kids looking at the 3D printer. If it's on, it doesn't even have to be their project that it's printing out. It could be anyone's project. They rush just to see what's going on. And the spaghetti that you mentioned earlier, they love it. They're just like, oh, there it is again.
Yeah.
So
Can I take it home?
Yeah. Sure. If that's what's gonna make your day.
If you want to take spaghetti home, go ahead.
And I mean, I don't know if, just to bring this up of what you're talking about the process, I mean, we went to an AI workshop and they were talking about not the product, but the process. So again, this like lends itself to maybe like the shift in where the world is going, where education is going, and that we really do need to teach students process because of how things are changing.
Right, and it always, I think, goes back to the sentence of, you know, there's always more than one way to do something, right? So it's not always about the answer, but it's about, okay, Julia, how did you make the snowflake? Christina, how did you make the snowflake we're all making a snowflake at the end of the day.
Yes.
But you did it differently than Christina, and we actually had that happen during our PD earlier this year, where TJ taught us one way to make a snowflake, which was great, but then Karen has another way to make a snowflake, and that's fantastic. So I think it's that shifting of the mindset. I know a lot of the work Kevin does and the entire IT department, it's about the process, really. It's, you know, at the end of the day, we need everything to work here, right? So that's the common goal, is so that you guys and myself don't walk in and our internet's not working, you know, but it's all about the process for them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a daily occurrence. You know, I'll say one thing related to the 3D printing. TJ is a very good resource. He's very passionate about it. You can get in a deep conversation with him. It's one of his hobbies outside of here. So he's the perfect person within the department and to represent the district for this, to help, obviously, you guys as well. He's taught me some things. I have no experience whatsoever with them, but he's taught me the fact that, like, you can 3D print shelves in your house. You can, like you mentioned, keychains, things like that. There's different filaments that you can create, and I think it's pretty cool. They're like starting to use 3D printers to like make houses and things like that now. You know, you look at certain objects and you're like, oh, maybe we can save some money instead of ordering something. We've kicked around the idea of like accessories in the IT department, hanging access points, things like that. Potentially, like, instead of buying brackets, using those as a solution. 3D printing designs like that.
Don't they also have like those cable ties and like what you have right here, actually?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, I've seen those 3D printed as well.
Yeah,
where you don't
wire management, or even like hooks on your desk.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think.
Well, 3D.
Well, even the
TJ
orange on the 3D printer.
Yeah, this is all. This is all 3D printed.
All of that.
I was going to say, I remember him going through the process of saying how he was printing parts for the actual printer.
3D printer,
Yeah, he 3D printed storage boxes for all of our 3D printer supplies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty crazy.
And don't they have some sort of etch on them, or is that a...
Yeah, there's a T-bird on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can even, like, design within your design almost.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
right.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. That's awesome. I know, again, with the real-life application of things, one of the things that I learned about was, like, the use of prosthetics and how some of the prosthetics are
Right.
3D printed.
Right.
So, you know, I think we're coming a long way from, you know, we're starting out in elementary school, we're exposing them, we're relating it to the books, you know. Even libraries have changed over time, too. The library when I went to school is not the same
Yeah,
library that
definitely
you
not.
guys are doing. You know, I used to go to library to learn about table of contents, the glossary, the index, pick a book, maybe hear a story being read aloud, and now, like, I'm just looking around this room right now, and the different spaces, designated spaces. We have the 3D printer space. We have, you know, like a meeting area. We have the tables that are flexible seating, you know. So it's really come a long way, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this, you know, goes about through middle school, high school. Everyone has 3D printers, so we'll have to get the secondary library media specialists on board to join us for a conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the students have fun, like, even just using Tinkercad and playing around with it and that design feature, and you know, you can kind of see, like, that's what architects do, and they are using AutoCAD, and Tinkercad is an offshoot of that. So it's just like, and I even, like, share that to them just anytime I can get, like, real world application, and I feel like the 3D printer lends itself to that.
That's awesome. Now, one of my questions for you guys are, if you had to give a piece of advice to another library media specialist who's maybe hesitant about, say they came into your situation, hey, we have this new thing, it's a 3D printer, and they have no knowledge about it. What's a piece of advice for a teacher who's just starting out, whether it's a librarian or not?
I would start small and with something flat.
Yes.
Because something flat hopefully won't get, you know, messed up once you start building up. And if there's, you know, space and gaps, then you need to deal with supports or different things, and that just makes the print more complicated. So, you know, like, just doing a flat type of keychain that has a word that we're doing for the literacy celebration. Our theme for the literacy celebration is kindness, and so we have Be Kind keychains that we will be handing out to the, you know, first come, first serve, that we're creating with the 3D printers at all the district libraries. So something flat is easiher.
Sounds good to me. That's what I would have to start out with.
I would say give yourself grace, because I feel like, or at least I know about me, if I'm learning something and I don't get it right the first time, I get so frustrated and I'm ready to be like, you know what, I just can't do this. Why can't I do this?
And the kids are going to feel that way
right,
too.
Right. So if you give yourself grace and say, okay, you know what, this is new. I'm learning this for the first time. I'm not going to be a pro at it. I'm not going to get it right the first time. Let me just, you know, fail forward and see how, you know, I have to learn the process, and you know, just give yourself grace, and you'll figure it out.
And then, as in regards to the classroom teachers, how can they utilize this? What's the best thing that they can do in collaboration with you to utilize a 3D printer? Oh, they're looking at each other.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if there's some kind of design project you want to create and have done, or
Like
if
the
there's
one
some
thing
kind
that
of
comes
math
to-
application, you know, like, oh, I'm teaching angles, like, maybe let's create something and talk about angles while we're designing something.
I was thinking,
great.
like, for primary grades, making like a math manipulative, and I know I had a kindergarten teacher who loved purple, so she wanted to read Lily's purple plastic purse, and we
Lots
could,
of peas.
yeah, lots of peas. So we were incorporating math with that story. So I printed out little purple purses for each student, and we use them as math manipulatives.
That's very clever.
So this way, you're kind of tying in the literary concept with, you know, math and the 3D printer, and the kids were excited. They got to leave with a purple purse.
I was thinking the one thing I know, I think second grade does American symbols.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking.
Oh.
So I was
Yeah.
thinking, like, if you were teaching American symbols, okay, everyone pick a symbol or something, and then you have a class symbol that you can come up with.
and print it out.
So these are just some initial ideas that people can
Even
take
like for
away.
secondary, I don't want to like steal their thunder, but like you have biology and anatomy and things like that. You know, you could print out models of the brain, or for like facts, cookie cutters, things like that could be also like printed for secondary.
Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you for answering our questions and discussing the 3D printers. It is definitely a really good resource for all the schools, and I think it's going to be a really positive experience for the students who start out again in elementary and make their way up. And comparing their designs from elementary to the high school is going to be, I think, a really good learning experience.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.